Hey guys, it's Phil coming back at you with another video. Today I'm going to be discussing a topic that I'm getting a lot of emails and a lot of questions and something that I haven't really covered. And people are like, Phil, are you ever going to cover this? Or I've been looking on your YouTube channel. I've been listening to the podcast. I haven't heard anything about any of this stuff. So I'm hoping that you guys find it helpful. And if you're taking the exam at any capacity, I would imagine that you guys would find it helpful because it's going to be the tips that I find most helpful when the exam is approaching and coming up. But before we get into that, 36 people passed their exam since my last video 2 weeks ago, which is absolutely mind-blowing. I appreciate every single person that includes me in their prep, whether it's through the videos, whether it's through the study groups, whether it's through individual tutoring, whether it's you just hearing from me from somebody else. I'm absolutely appreciative of everything that you guys do with and for me. From the bottom of my heart, thank you guys for rocking with me, and it makes what I do even more special because when I know that it's working, it just motivates me more and more and more. But before we get into anything, those people that have passed are as follows: Jill D, Stephanie B, Andrew C, Tamara T, Cynthia M, Joy B, Kat G, Junior G, David R, Michelle A, Monique M, Karina H, Adam C, Desiree T, Janelle B, Lynn P, Shira K.A., Margaret B, Sabrina D, Teresa P, Jessica S, Megan B, Matthew O, Jessica O, Lorraine R, Chase B, Kelly C, Asia B, Maria C, Kat P, Vivian C, Jenny W, Maya R, Becca C, Tiffany C, and Ida U. I'm so excited, man, because as exams are opening up, more and more people are walking in and getting what they want out of the exam and killing it, man. And a lot of these people that have been rocking with me are like, yo, I'm not even sure why I did this or if it was even going to be possible for me, man. This isn't my first time going through this. And it's absolutely amazing to walk through and see someone transform from I'm not even sure if this is possible for me to I'm actually walking in, feeling confident and comfortable, kicking my feet up and getting the job done. And that's what I'm going to kind of allude to in a little bit. But before we get into that, if you want to rep and rock with me, the next Sunday study groups are as follows. 7-12 practice questions mix. So we're going to be incorporating application, reasoning, and recall questions in that study group. 7-19 ethics. So going over the ethical considerations that you could possibly see, as well as cutting up the code of ethics in an easy, digestible way of reviewing. 7-26 Maslow's attachment and parenting styles, 8-2 DSM-5 adults, 8-9 DSM-5 children, and 8-16 the acronym and practice questions. So I'm going to break down the acronym that I recommend to everybody, as well as apply it to questions and see how they can dissect, as well as answering the questions without the acronym, because I know not every single person reps with the acronym, and that's okay, because if it doesn't work for you, don't force anything, because if you're forcing something, you're going to end up breaking it anyway. And if you want any information about the study groups, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. And I do still offer individual tutoring for those that are wondering. My schedule tends to book out 4 to 4.5 weeks in advance, so if your exam's coming up and you send me an email, I'm going to have to turn you away, and it makes me sad every single time, man. It's like, yo, I really want to help, but I literally can't multiply myself. For those that don't know, I still work a full-time job as a mental health and substance use therapist, so that's why my tutoring hours are kind of limited. So if you want to rep and rock with me in that way, just kind of plan ahead, because I do not like turning people away. But if you want information for that, the link for that will be in the description, as well as worst case scenario, just send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. As well as I'm super duper excited to announce that I will be doing another 1-day prep course. So I did it last month, and a lot of people were like, yo, I'm so mad that I missed it. I want to be a part of this. How can I do it? Are you going to record it? What's that going to look like? So I decided to do another one in July, and I'm likely going to do another one in August. So if you can't do this one, do not be mad, because I'm going to try incorporating more into it, because it's another way for me to be able to help out in any way that I can. So that is going to be on 7/25, so in about a little less than 2 weeks. And that's a Saturday from 11, and I'm thinking around 6 p.m. because the last one I did, people said it was kind of long. So if you want to sign up for that, the link for that will be in the description. Or if you're like, I want a little bit more information, send me an email at berda24@gmail.com. And if you aren't repping and rocking like that, that's okay. But for those that don't know as well, Audible has agreed to sponsor both my YouTube videos and my podcast. So if you want to help me as well as help them out, go to my Audible affiliate link at audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gaps. Sign up for the 30-day free trial, and that 30-day free trial gets you a free book. And if you're like, Phil, I have no clue what Audible is an easy way to be able to absorb information on the go in an audio form, so you don't have to sit down and flip pages. Or if you're like me, page reading is not the way that you learn. You can have it in your ears for my auditory learners. And if you're like, I'm not sure really what book I should get, with the free book that you get, there are 3 suggestions that I have. And the one that I always suggest, and the one that has probably impacted me the most within my journey, is The Alchemist. Another one is Just Mercy. And another one, if you're thinking about it, is Outliers. And each book is going to have a different lesson that you can incorporate within your life, but all of them have golden nuggets that you can take with and for you in any capacity within your life. And like I said, I wouldn't recommend it if I wasn't benefited from it as well, because I love knowledge, I love pushing myself to the next level, and I love being able to adapt and overcome anything that could possibly put in my way. And again, if you want to support me as well as support them, go to audibletrial.com/fill-in-the-gap, sign up for the 30-day free trial. And if you didn't know, I do have a podcast. You can look it up on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or Spotify at Fill in the Gaps. And I do have a Facebook page if you want to incorporate that into being up with what I'm doing. That again is at Fill in the Gaps as well. But let's get into the topic for the video today, guys. And that topic is, Phil, what do you recommend when my exam is coming up? I'm not really sure what to do. I'm starting to get worried. So this video is going to be for people that, if your exam is coming up, there's typically a cycle that I see from working with the people that I've worked with, that about a month out, everything is going great. Everything is cooling. You're feeling good. You're feeling motivated. You're feeling pumped up. And then right around that week out mark, or week and a half out mark, everyone gets into panic mode. They're like, oh my God, I'm not really sure if I should I reschedule. No, I'm not. And it's like, ah! And it's like, slow down. There are 5 recommendations that I have for people, and I need to make sure that people understand them thoroughly. So let me explain each and every one of them. So the first one is execution over emotions. And you're like, Phil, you're a therapist, you're a social worker. Emotions and feelings are super important. They are important, but only in certain circumstances. Do not add extra emotions into a process that is so emotionally charged that you can convince yourself of anything if you want to. And what do I mean by execution over emotions? Execution means I have been preparing and doing all the right things up to this moment, that I am not going to let anything step in front of my way. I'm not going to create fake situations. I'm not going to overthink things. I'm not going to get in my own way, because when you execute, you are better off than if you get emotionally charged and say, man, I'm not really sure if this is what I should be doing, or man, I'm not really sure if I studied enough, or what if the questions I've been doing aren't really that difficult, and then I walk into the exam and it's over. And it's like, shut it down, shut it down, shut it down. And what do I mean by shut it down? Remind yourself of all the positive ways that you've been preparing. You didn't do everything that you did up to this point to then just throw your hands in the air and be like, yeah, you're right, I really wasn't enough or anything like that. So execution over emotions is when you walk into that exam and things aren't going how you think they should go, you still execute. You still follow the process. You still go through the motions, and you still get the job done. So when you execute over and over and over and over, because when you do something over and over and over and over, you get comfortable with it. And when you get comfortable in uncomfortable situations, you are growing to the next level, to where you didn't think that you could actually be going. Because your mind is going to trick you and say, man, you failed before. This is your first time. Of course you're not going to fail. You're not going to pass on the first try. Every single person fails, and all of these things. I've never met somebody that's done this or that and this and that. And then you can get yourself into a spiral when you are not supposed to be spiraling out of control. You're supposed to be so in control of your situation, because you've been executing over and over and over. And even when you've been getting questions wrong, it's not about whether you get questions right or wrong. It's how you got the questions right or wrong. So those that I work with know that I am not worried about if you can get the answer right or wrong. It's how did you get there? And if you see a question similar to the one that you are doing right now, how could you spin it to make it the other answer is correct, and why are they incorrect in this capacity, and how can you utilize the question to get to the answer. So that's what I'm talking about, execution. So when you have a routine in your head, it is second nature for when you walk into the exam and kill it. So it's like, oh my gosh, I don't really know what the answer is on this question. All right, let's still break it down. All right, what are the answer choices? That one's incorrect for this one's incorrect for that one's possibly correct. All right, this last one seems a little bit more correct. Let's compare it back to the question. Bam, that second answer is better than that first one. Let's go with it. Let's do this 169 other times because this is what I've been practicing for. So when you practice how you're going to perform, when you actually perform, it's going to feel like practice because it's second nature to you. You do not have to think about things that you are very good at because you had doing things that you hadn't been good at over and over and over, and now you're good at it. So for example, if you are a therapist and you're doing assessments, when you do that first assessment right out of school, you're probably like, holy crap, am I going to mess up? Or what if I don't ask this? And what if I do this? And then all of these unreal situations were going through your mind. And then you're like, oh my God, I completed it. Hopefully I did it correct. And that person's all right. Now, if you were to do an assessment months later, weeks later, or even years later, if you've been doing it for a long time, it is now second nature. You pop in that room. You do exactly what you need to do. You collect the data in the best way that you know how. You start establishing that rapport with the person. You make them more comfortable. You don't project your uncomfortability on them, and you execute. So that's what I'm talking about when I say execution over emotions. A lot of times people will put emotions in this situation and punk themselves out so that the way they're not in the best possible version of themselves, because when you are in the emotional mindset, you are not thinking in your frontal cortex. Your frontal cortex is popped open, and now you're operating out of your limbic system. And those that know, the limbic system is the fight, flight, freeze, and submit systems of the body. So now you're either ready to fight, you're ready to submit, you're ready to run out of the exam, or you've actually just kind of just sat there and froze and was like, yeah, I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing at this time. You're right, I knew I was going to fail. I didn't put all the effort in and all this stuff. And it's like, those are all lies right now because you're not sure of what you're supposed to be doing at this moment. So fall into that execution. So that is where it's very, very important when you're practicing to try and replicate the exam process as much as you possibly can. So that way when you actually walk into the exam, it is going to be second nature to you. There's going to be zero questions in your mind whether what you're supposed to be doing is what you're going to be doing, because there's not a doubt in your mind that what is supposed to be happening is happening right now because you projected, you've ran yourself through it, and you've been executing over and over and over, and it's not that you've turned your emotional mind off. You set it to the side and said emotions have value, but not in this given situation, because I'm supposed to be so ready and pumped up for this thing that the emotions are going to be more positive than dragging me down and anxious and negative. And the second thing is do not panic, man. A lot of times people start getting into panic mode, and most times when people are in that panic mode, it's because, man, I'm not sure if what I've been studying is actually what I should be studying, or, man, I'm not even really sure if there's this concept over here that this person that just recently took their exams underwent. My exam's probably going to have the same thing. I don't have enough competency in that area to be able to see it on a question. And it's like, slow down. Slow down. You are giving so much control about the uncontrollables that it's driving you insane. So when you start panicking, slow yourself down, reel yourself in, and start reflecting on everything that you've done. Like, what are the processes that you've been doing? What material have you been looking over? How comfortable are you with the areas that you're comfortable with? As well as you've been doing this over and over, and know that the answer is always going to be on the page. A lot of times people are like, yo, I don't know anything about community, or I'm not sure about the diagnosing, or I'm not sure about what to do in group work and stuff like that. And it's like, you don't entirely have to know everything. You just have to be able to recognize it and apply it when you see the question. And know that even if you don't know what the question's asking or what the answer is, you have a 25% chance of getting it correct. That's 1 in 4. Why? Because there's 4 answer choices. And if you can knock one of them out, it increases your chance of being able to answer. So if you knock out one, the chance of you getting the correct answer is 33.3%. And if you can knock out another, you're now doing a 50-50 chance here. So that is how you have to wind yourself back down, is when you are in that last week or last 2 weeks or last month of being able to take your exam, do not put the control in the hands of somebody else. Your situation is yours to own, and the way that you mentally process and mentally analyze this event, such as taking the exam, you have to be able to reframe it and say, I do not know everything, but I definitely do know enough to pass, and I'm not shooting for that perfect score. I'm shooting simply to pass, because when I pass, I'm going to get to where I want to go. So I do not have to panic, because I do not have to be a professor and being able to take the exam. I just have to be able to look at the exam questions that I get, which are not decided at any point at this moment until you actually sit your butt down in the chair and click the start button on the exam. You will not know the questions or will be able to predict the questions. Your friend over here could add a ton of community questions. Your friend over here could add a ton of children questions. Your person over here could add a ton of crisis intervention questions. You may not have the same set of questions because it's just a question bank that they can compile up, and your exam is going to be different than what you had seen in the past. So if you're somebody that has taken the exam multiple times in the past, just because you've taken it multiple times doesn't mean you've seen the questions that you're about to see in this exam attempt. So that's why I always tell people, do not panic, because this is your absolute first time taking the exam. And let me say that again. Even if you've taken this exam multiple times, this is your absolute first time taking the exam. Why do I say that? Because you've not experienced this same exact exam attempt before. Why? Because you've made changes to previous attempts. I doubt that if you failed the exam that you've made zero changes in your preparation. So that is where you're not the same person anymore. You're not in the same mindset anymore. You're not seeing the same questions anymore. You're not on the same date anymore. You've been making changes and giving progress, so you have to give yourself credit and give yourself grace to know, I'm not going to be perfect in there, but I darn sure I'm not going to panic and get myself out of the exam room in any way, shape, or form. I've been doing this so much, and I've given up so much time and sacrificed so much stuff that I'm not going to let this stuff get inside of my head. I'm not going to let other people get inside of my ear. I'm not going to let the past dictate my future. I need to dictate my own future by walking into that exam and being the best possible version of myself, because if I'm the best possible version of myself, I get stuff done. So do not panic. Almost be excited to get the opportunity to get to where you want to go, because every single person that's sitting for that exam wants to pass it because they have dreams and goals that are past that exam. So do not let this exam make you panic and get away from your goals. Your goals have to be more powerful than this exam or your panic or your emotional reaction to this. So that's why I get so frustrated when people are like, Phil, I don't even really think I can pass. And it's like, well, if you don't think you can pass it, then why even walk into the exam room? Because you already told yourself, I'm not good enough to get to this exam. And you are good enough. You're so good because they wouldn't let you sit for the dang thing if you weren't good enough to be able to pass the thing. So that's where you have to convince yourself, I've been doing the exact right things that I have to do at this given moment, and I may not be doing the things that I feel that I should be doing, but the exam is going to be the dictator of whether I've been doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or if this set of questions is enough for me. And that's a lot of times where people fail by a couple of points, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You are going to get into your own mindset and start blaming yourself when you need to start examining your process and tearing that bad boy apart. So do not panic, but be more excited about the process. And the third recommendation that I have is identify and review your routine. So what do I mean by identify your routine? So when you walk into the exam, you have to have it mapped out for yourself of what you're going to be doing at that time. I'm a person that'll like to map out the week before the person's exam. And how do I do that? I typically sit someone down when they ask me, Phil, I have about a week left. What should I be doing? I tell them, think about the topics that you feel comfortable with, topics you don't feel so comfortable with, and which ones do you want to dictate and assign to days, if not half days. So if you have a lot of time to study and you have a couple of topics that you're not feeling secure about, analyze and dissect them leading up to the exam, and then check in with yourself about the stuff that you do know, so that way you feel comfortable and there's zero cards unflipped when you're walking into the exam. And then once that comes up, it's like, well, what should I do the day before the exam? Charlie over here told me I should take the day off, and Rhonda over here told me I should throttle down and blow the engine up. And it's like, it all depends. What is your personality type? So if you're a person like me and need to be doing something 100% of the time, then you're probably going to listen to Rhonda that's like, blow the dang engine up. But instead of blowing the engine up, we need to regulate the productivity you have the day before. And what do I mean by that? You need to sit down, assign a certain number of questions to yourself, whether that's 10, 15, 20, 30, 40. I would not go over 40. Why don't I say go over 40? Because that's a lot of emotional energy, and if you get those incorrect, it could lead you to getting off the path and start dissecting and diverting yourself into negative mindsets and I'm not good enough, I knew I wasn't going to get it done, I'm inadequate, and stuff like that. So you need to regulate the amount of stuff you do, because those 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 questions are simply to sharpen your tool up to say, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing at this given moment to get myself ready for the next day? And the process in that is just to make sure that you are sharp and comfortable with the routine that you have identified for yourself in that moment. And if you're a person that Charlie's talking about that needs to take the day off, what I would recommend is skimming the code of ethics, doing 5 to 10 questions just to make sure your process is okay. Take the entire day off and then relax and run through the process that you need to run through. And I often recommend that person to identify what they've been doing, give themselves credit for the things they have been doing, forgive themselves for the things that they haven't, and building themselves up mentally. And then Rhonda's person over here also needs to do the same thing, as well as skim that code of ethics just to make sure that they're fresh and in the mindset of where they need to be going. So in that routine, you need to start mapping out what time you're going to get to the exam. So for me, I got to the exam an hour early because I knew myself. You're a person that likes pushing it to the very last deadline, and if you don't do this at the right time, you are going to mess up your mindset and the opportunity for you to get there. So I was driving there an hour early, and also in my head I was like, dude, if you break down, you run into the exam, and you know you could probably run pretty decently, and this is the distance that you would have to run, so this is what it's going to look like for you. So then once I got there, I mapped out the process that I was going to experience, and for those that haven't taken the exam, this is the process you're likely going to experience. COVID might have changed a few things, but this is probably about to be the same process. You're going to walk up, say who you are. They're going to have you sign the social work code of ethics thing saying you're not going to cheat on the exam. They're going to slide you over. You're going to scan your palm print once, scan both palm prints again, and then you're going to slide over, take your picture, and go. And then you're going to put all your stuff in your locker. They're going to give you a locker key, and you're going to have your license and your locker key in your hand. And then you're going to sit there and wait and understand what's about to happen in that exam room. And when you're sitting there, anticipate a spike of anxiety. Why? Because this is where you're going to understand if what you've been doing is enough. But this is where you have to resharpen yourself and say, I've been doing everything correctly. I need to give myself permission to feel this. Because if I don't give myself permission to feel this now, my execution is going to be determined based on the fact that I'm going to be emotionally charged, and I do not need to focus on emotions right now. I need to focus on execution because I need to get the job done, and I need to get what I need to do. And if I'm thinking about other things extracurricular, I'm not going to focus on the main task, which is the primary thing that I'm there to do, which is walk in to collect my pass paper and then walk out. And then when you sit down to the exam, you need to understand, am I going to run through the tutorial? If I'm thinking that the tutorial is a waste of time, but I don't know where the timer is or how to flag questions or how to review flag questions, you need to review the tutorial because the tutorial is going to tell you where the timer is, how to flag questions, how to review flag questions, how to submit your exam, etc. But once you get past the tutorial, anticipate the first couple of questions just popping you in the mouth. Why? Because these exam questions are often more difficult than other study materials that people encounter. People say, Phil, your questions are just as tricky, if not more tricky than the exam. It's purposeful. Why? Because I would rather have you in the big leagues, practicing in the big leagues, getting your butt kicked, so when you walk into the exam, it's not a shock. A lot of times people will practice with other questions or different programs or different people, and then they're feeling good, they're getting pumped up, they're getting every question right, and then they walk into the exam and it's like, pop! Because the exam is a difficult process, and if the questions you aren't practicing on aren't difficult, then you're going to be in a hard time. So make sure the way that you're practicing is how you're going to perform, but make sure the things that you're practicing with are actually going to be the rigor of the exam. Because if it's less difficult in your practice and then you walk into the exam, it's going to be a culture shock. But I always tell people, anticipate having some resistance on the first couple of questions, if not first 5 questions. And that's where you have to reset your mindset of, I may not know these answers, but I'm going to give it my best shot because the answer's on the page. And I can get 45 to 54 wrong and still pass this bad boy. So I'm not going to let 5 questions steal my confidence and my ability to execute in this situation to get to where I need to go. So once you get that routine down, make sure that when you're practicing, you're going to be performing in that way. And if you've noticed, I've been fiddling with the pen fiddling with a highlighter the whole time. Why? Because I can't sit still in any capacity in my life. But I was able to take that into the exam with me because when I was practicing, I was fiddling with the pen, and I was like, boom, there's a whiteboard, and there's going to be a marker in there. You can fiddle with that marker. So every time you're answering a question, you better be twiddling with the pen because you're going to twiddle yourself all the way home for 170 questions, and you need to recognize in your environment, is my environment exam ready, or am I making my environment too comfortable and not like the exam? So when I walk into the exam, I'm telling myself I can't correlate the process and the strategies and the techniques I've been utilizing inside of it. So make sure the routine you identify is relevant to what your process is going to be. Don't change anything leading up to the exam because that's going to create a culture shock for you in that situation. So as I said, do not focus on the materials that other people are telling you that your exam could be on, because then it's going to raise your anxiety, take your focus away from what you've been doing, and it's going to blow up your system. So then you're going to try piecing together multiple systems at the same time, which leads me into a different thought within this routine. Do not mix multiple different techniques together because it's like a chemistry project. You mix too many techniques together, you're going to blow up the spot. And then you're in the exam, you're trying to apply the acronym I suggest, you're trying to apply the techniques that I suggest, and another program suggests, and then another program, and then another program. So then when you're in the exam, you're not even really sure what technique you want to bring out and utilize on the question, so your confidence level is gone down based on the fact that you're not even sure what works best with and for your situation. So dissecting that and producing in an effective manner throughout your practice reps is going to lead to more performance reps or perfect reps when you're in the exam. And the fourth suggestion is avoid extra information or opinions of other people in the situation. And what do I mean by this? So I was kind of alluding to this before, but do not add extra techniques or extra processes or extra people in your process if you haven't been already introduced to them leading up to your exam. Because a lot of times people will say, I've been doing this, but I think this could be helpful for me. Or Phil, I haven't been utilizing the acronym or your process of how you break down the questions. Should I start implementing them now? If it's going to work for you, but if it's going to raise your anxiety, do not implement things that are not going to be helpful for you in that situation. And what do I mean by avoid other opinions? Because a lot of times people are on the Facebook pages, they're listening to different videos, they're listening to different podcasts, or they're even having people in their environment or at their agency or people in their life in general. If it's bringing you more anxiety and dragging you down, cut them out. Cut it out, because we need you so confident and comfortable when you're walking into the uncomfortable situation, such as the exam, because we need you in the best possible version of yourself. So if something is dragging you down or making you feel less confident and comfortable, cut it out. And I don't mean long term. You don't have to cut friends out and all of these influences that have been helpful for you in your situation. But if every time that they're asking you about things about the exam, or different people are saying, did you study this, or do you know this, or this person over here failed, or this person over here passed on their first time, it's not your first time, or this person failed for the 8th time, you do not have to introduce any piece of information or influence in your situation unless you want to. And what do I mean by that? So you may have to get off Facebook or break your phone in half until you're leading up to your exam. Don't actually break your phone in half, but you may have to lock yourself out or have a blackout on there, stay off of social media, stay off of all these different sites, take a couple days off work. I don't know what you need to do, but you need to make sure those influences that are dragging you down aren't getting inside your head. Because I know a lot of times people are like, man, this person said this to me and it ruined my entire day. And it's like, that person does not need to have that much control with and for your situation, because you are so powerful and gifted, and you need everything building you up, because more positive thoughts and positive energy equals positive results. And negative energy and negative vibes and negative thoughts equal negative results. So you need to make sure that everything in your situation is as positive as you possibly can get. You need to be building yourself up rather than tearing yourself down. And if it's another person, or if it's a piece of information, or if it's something over here, let it go, because there's no guarantee that that opinion or that situation or any piece of information is going to be relevant for your process. And if it's not positive, start dissecting and building it up. Because at the end of the day, if you're building yourself up and talking yourself like you're a positive person, you're going to get more positive results. Because even if you don't feel like you're doing the right thing, you're going to believe that you're confident and comfortable in the process, so you're going to actually go with your answers. Because if you second guess yourself, that is the number one reason why people fail their exam when I'm interacting with them, is that they second guess themselves, they talk themselves out of it, they degrade themselves, or they remember a comment that someone once told them in their lives that they're not able to get the job done. And if you want an example, when I was growing up, I heard all the time, Phil, you're not that smart, you're not that intelligent, you're not going to succeed, you're not going to be able to do the best things. And when I used to tell people I want to teach, they're like, yo, you're not even that good at teaching. Yeah, you can help people complete work, but you're not a good teacher. You're not that smart. You're not able to get the job done. And if I would have listened to those people, I wouldn't be helping y'all pass your exams. I wouldn't be providing information. I wouldn't have the confidence to continue to do this. I wouldn't be running the study groups. I wouldn't be doing the individual tutoring. I wouldn't have went to college. I wouldn't have went to the #1 social work school in the country, the University of Michigan, if I didn't have that confidence in my ability. But every single time that I had a negative thought in my mind, I overcame it and added a positive one. Which leads me into my next point. Come to terms with a 50% chance of passing or failing. So the most true statement that I can ever give you is whether you study or not, there's a 50% chance of whether you pass or fail. And why do I say that? Because there's only two results. Either you pass or you fail. But if you've been putting so much energy into, I'm going to fail, or I don't know if I can do this, you may have to counteract that with double, if not quadruple, the amount of positive thoughts and positive energy and positive people in your life. Because your environment and supports are going to create the results and confidence that you have in your abilities to be able to get the job done. And why do I say this? The more positive people I surround myself with, or the more positive information I get through, whether it's through Audible, whether it's through reading books, whether it's through listening to motivational speakers, the more positive and motivated I get to help you guys, help myself, help the next generation, help my family, etc. Because when I am more fired up about my process, the more passionate I get. And the more passionate I get, the more I want to give back, because I've been given so much of my opportunities from my mentors, from all these different agencies, even you. All you guys listening to this video right now, whether you know it or not, you guys have helped me in this process by supporting me, whether it's a positive email, whether it's a positive comment down below, whether it's subscribing to the YouTube channel. All of those things have me like, okay, this is another sign that you're doing what you need to be doing, so keep going. Because I know a lot of people don't rep and rock with these types of videos. They would rather me produce like a practice questions video or do another type of video. But this is from my people that are like, yo, I'm struggling. And I hear you. I hear you that you're struggling, and I'm here to help you in any way that I can. But if you're not willing to look inside of your situation and say, yo, I have not been doing things correctly, or I can make one small shift and everything is going to grow up and blow up. But if you're sitting there saying like, yo, I'm not really sure, it's my fault, I can't handle this, I'm not really sure what I should be doing, start listening, start advising yourself, start building yourself up, and say your name before they even start saying it. Start saying that you're credentialed to yourself before you're even credentialed. Start saying where you want to be in your life even before you believe you could be there. Start saying, I am going to own a private practice. I am going to work in that hospital. I am going to be a CEO. I am going to do all of these things. I am going to help this certain population I want to help. I am going to be a voice of reason with all of these people. I am going to be able to instruct and do whatever I want to do. I am going to be that person. So you almost have to own it in your situation and say, there's nothing in my way that is going to stop me. And these negative stops have to stop today. These negative thoughts have to stop today. These negative thoughts have to stop today. Why do they have to stop today? Because you need to start building yourself up, because your exam is soon, or that opportunity you don't think you can get is soon, and you need to start believing that you can do it, because people can see in your eyes and see by your demeanor or by your attitude that if you do not believe in what you are doing, or if you do not have passion and motivation behind what you're doing, they are not going to want you in your situation or want you in their situation. Because if you are second guessing and self-doubting, it is then going to become contagious to them. And if you have people around you that are self-doubting, talking down, not getting to where they want to go, you may have to find yourself in an environment where the people are building themselves up. They are talking about things that you want to do. They are getting the things that you want to get, and you need to start building yourself up less than you are talking yourself down. So you need to build yourself up more than you are degrading yourself in any way, shape, or form. So those are the 5 things that I would recommend when your exam is coming up or if you're experiencing negative thoughts right now. So execution over emotions. Get that execution going, because the more you execute over time, the easier it is going to be for you to execute in the future. Second, do not panic. Do not get yourself out of the best possible version of yourself, which is your rational mind of being able to think. Third, identify and review the routine that you develop for yourself. Not anyone else developed for you, but you develop for yourself. The fourth, avoid extra information or opinions that aren't building you up, they're tearing you down. And the fifth, come to terms that you have a chance of failing the exam, but you also have the opportunity and ability to pass the exam. So you have to be entertaining that thought more, if not double, of what the negative thoughts and ways that you've been telling yourself that you're going to fail the exam are. And if you found this video helpful, comment down below something that you took from this video, or a positive thought that you want other people to see, or positive motivations and inspirations that you've experienced in your life. Send me an email if you need anything in any capacity. Subscribe to the YouTube channel by clicking down below. Subscribe and hit the bell next to it for email notifications. Attend the study groups or reach out for individual tutoring, or join the one-day test prep if you want to. From the bottom of my heart, guys, I can't say it enough, man. Like, this makes my day to being able to talk and help you guys get to the best possible version of yourself, because it has me reflect on the things that I've gone through and the things that I've done and all the positive things that are happening for me right now. Because it's something that it's hard for me to say, man, but like, I got a text from my mom today, and for those that know, like, she has cancer. She's like, yo, the test numbers are going up. It's all negative right now. And from this is what started this, man, is wanted to show her that I can teach, man. And every time that you guys pass, and every time you guys reach out and send positive vibes, man, it just reminds me, man. So from the bottom of my heart, I really, really mean it. I appreciate every single one of you, whether it's just you watching the videos, attending the study groups, attending the individual tutoring, just sending a positive email or positive vibe, or posting a review on the Facebook page, man. Like, from the bottom of my heart, man, you matter, man. And if anyone didn't tell you this today, like, you matter, you are powerful, you are gifted, you have something to contribute to this world in some way. And don't let other people doubt you, man, because I used to doubt myself a lot. I still doubt myself. But at the end of the day, like, that's why I like doing this with y'all, because it's real and raw, and take something from that positive thing of like, this is what produced, yo. And now that she's in remission, man, it just makes me so happy and proud. But I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care of your guys' self. Be safe. Practice self-care. Do something nice for yourself, and reflect on the positive things that you've gone through, man. Take care, guys. I'll see you in the next video, and peace out, guys.